We got a police chief, according to a complaint, has been sexually assaulting a colleague for 13 years. Put up the picture of this police chief. His name is Thomas Hurst. I'm gonna give you the background to this extreme story. That chief is the chief of Manville Police Department, has been placed on temporary leave after a veteran employee alleged in a civil lawsuit that he repeatedly sexually assaulted her at work and raped her at her home in a prolonged pattern and practice of sexual harassment that continued for 13 years straight. The police chief, Thomas Hurst, who has worked for the department for 30 years, is accused of masturbating in front of the woman at the police office, touching her inappropriately on a regular basis, while he was a lieutenant and her supervisor. He later raped the woman approximately 10 times in the police archive room and began to regularly rape her at her home and in a hotel parking lot during her lunch hour, the lawsuit alleged. Hurst's alleged sexual assault stopped in 2018 after the woman got a new position and a less private office in the police department. But in January 2021, a few months after he was promoted to chief, Hurst allegedly came to the woman's office, slid his hands inside her bra. Following her refusal, the chief began to speak with other senior officers about how much he disliked the woman and wished she would leave the department, the lawsuit said. The woman said in court papers she was a single mother and the alleged assaults began, and she feared losing her job at the police department if she reported the misconduct. The female employee also alleged in her lawsuit that 3 Manville officers were present when one jokingly pointed a shotgun at her earlier this month after the chief allegedly said he disliked her and wanted her to leave the department. She came forward now partly because she is retirement age and no longer needs the police department to support her family, she said in the lawsuit. The Manville Borough Council convened an emergency meeting after this lawsuit was filed Thursday and voted unanimously to place the chief on paid temporary administrative leave, an attorney for Manville said. Another officer has been placed in charge of the department while the Somerset County Prosecutor's Office investigate the allegations. The woman is also on paid administrative leave from the police department in a decision that was made with input from her and attorneys to give the investigation time to play out. All right, isn't it ironic that her punishment is the same as his? Okay, all right, so here's the situation. There are people who will say, well, this officer, why did she not report it sooner? I have to remind everyone that over 90% of sexual assault crimes are unreported in the United States of America. Do you know how many women and frankly men go to their graves who have been sexually assaulted, sexually molested? They take it to their graves. You know why? Because we have a rape culture in America. They protect those who are the perpetrators of these crimes, and they create villains out of those who proclaim they were assaulted. Well, that doesn't happen on Indisputable, all right? Mr. Mayor, I'm sure you had your fair share of situations like this as well. Allegations of sexual assault happens on the workplace. This one obviously is more extreme than most.
And what we need is both a culture and a structure that is as brave as these survivors who come forward. Our structure keeps failing these survivors. What we need is to figure out who's gonna watch the watchmen.
Yeah.
If you are in a police department, who do you report your sexual assault to? Every police department in the country should have an independent, community-led citizen review board that can actually have power and authority. A lot of folks have citizen review boards that look at complaints, but they don't have the authority to issue discipline. All they have is the ability to recommend to the police chief what discipline should be issued. Now, how's that gonna work, right? If it's the police chief himself who's the perpetrator, you complain to.
Yep.
You complain to the Citizen Review Board. They send a recommendation up to the chief, and the chief says unfounded, right? And has never sees the light of day. The way to fix this is not with words, but with a better system, one that is as brave as our survivors.
Well said.